Turner did not play the rest of the game, which was just as well, folks figured, since they were down to their last baseball. He went back to the parsonage with his mother, walking a little ahead of her. They didn't talk all the way up to the front steps, where they both paused at the top and turned to look across the church. Now only the steeple was quickened by light, and then on down Parker Head. Turner shivered in the shadows, but he wasn't ready to go in yet, not while the light was still on the steeple. So he sat down on the stoop to watch it fade, and his mother stood above him and laid her hand on his head, playing with his hair. "You know, Turner," she said quietly, "you may have embarrassed your father." Turner considered that for a moment. "Maybe," he said finally. "Not that I'm so against it, embarrassing your father, I mean. It's good for ministers to be embarrassed now and again. Helps them remember who they are." "I'm not sure the Reverend Buckminster would agree," said Turner. "Of course he wouldn't. That's when he needs it most." The light on the steeple began to pink. Malaga, Turner thought, would already be in deep shadow, lying low in the water as it did. He had never been there in the dark, but he imagined it now, him standing on the shore and making out the waves only when they broke. Up above, the sky would be spangled, and he could sit side by side with Lizzie and watch the stars fall out of their places in sudden shrieks of light. The gulls would be quiet. The light from Lizzie's house would have thrown a yellow column onto the sand, and they would move closer together when the sea breeze got into mischief. And that's how it would be at night on Malaga Island. The light began to disappear by the far end of Parker Head. The houses were still mostly dark, everyone being down to Thayer's hay meadow playing with their last baseball. Soon they would come home in groups, talking quietly beneath the naked maples, the striped blankets they'd used to sit on now wrapped around their shoulders. The lights would come on and throw their columns across from one house to another, and the coal stoves would be stoked against the coming cold of the fall night as the town settled into evening. That's how it would be at night on Parker Head, where folks knew that, come winter, their houses would still be on Parker Head, not floating down the New Meadows. Turner wondered what it would be like to float down the New Meadows with his house on a raft, floating to where he did not know. Suddenly, he wasn't so sure about lighting out for the territories. Suddenly, he wondered if having a house wrapped around him wasn't something he wanted a whole lot more. It was sure enough what Lizzie Bright wanted. Turner heard the first group coming back from the game. His mother took her hand from his head and backed up a bit into the darkness of the porch. "Don't stay out too much longer," she said. "It gets cold so quickly here." Turner nodded, listening to her as she closed the door on the town and disappeared into the house. The group passed, did not wave to him as it went on down Parker Head, hushed. Turner wondered what Darwin might have said about the evolutionary advantages of being silent. He figured they might be considerable. He figured he might give it a try next time he met Willis Hurd.